You are very welcome to the polling station with Johnny Ward for Star Sports and William Kedjanyi. And William, I'm going to start off with an email I got just about a couple of hours ago, and it brightened up my day just ahead of our little chat because the email read as such. If I find it here. Trump will win the 2020 election according to respected economic model. And this is a press release for immediate release. Trump will win the 2020 election according to respected economic model, according to the esteemed economic prediction model, which has correctly predicted the result of the last 3 US elections. The model was created by Philippe Jacquart, a professor of leadership and organizational behavior at Emelon Business School. And Emelon Business School isn't even put in capital letters, so I don't know how true or false Philippe is, but is there a chance for those who are lumping on at a top price with Star Sports that Big Don holds on to his candidacy and has another 4 years?
I don't think so.
Okay.
If you're asking me that question directly, I now firmly believe Biden will win. How comfortably he does it is sort of still up in the air because, you know, these forecast models and these polls, they don't always translate into the result exactly right. But generally speaking, leading by 8.7 points going into the last week of the election, I would have thought would be more than enough. And I don't really see what changes to bring Trump close enough to make the Electoral College really come into play.
Has he any rabbit that he can pull? Something to do with the revelation about Biden that we haven't heard? We've obviously heard those allegations about his son and the consequent, I don't know, you know, some of the media, I suppose, afraid to focus too much on that because the media has been so important in that campaign and Trump has been talking about the fake media over and over this week. Is there anything he can pull out of the hat in the next 7 days?
I find it difficult to see something that will really stick. I think the biggest danger to Biden is Biden himself.
What can he do? What can he do?
A sort of full-scale cognitive meltdown. I know that. I know. Right. So here's the thing.
Avoid a full-scale cognitive meltdown, and you'll be grand.
Yeah, exactly. Like, okay, I don't want to seem like Alex Jones on Joe Rogan or something. Like, that's not what I'm aiming for here. But in reality, the biggest threat to Biden is basically a sort of breakdown, right?
Yeah.
Either in the sense that people think he isn't fit enough for the job of president, which the polling approval blatantly shows isn't the case. Plenty of Americans, more than enough to win an election, trust him to do so. Or he was to catch, let's say, COVID or something like that. And even then, you know...
might even be a sympathy vote.
Possibly, yeah. It didn't do anything big to Trump's approval ratings or the polls, really. I think the campaign just wants to get him to polling day healthy enough. Touch wood that happens. I'd be really, really surprised if he was beaten from this position.
Let me put it to you this way then. If you're looking at this and you've done your analysis, and many people will tell me I would much prefer to bet in an electoral race than I would bet on a horse or bet in a football team because I can look at data and blah, 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 blah. 4-11 Biden to me is a seriously good bet. Everything suggests that he will win. Is there any concern that it'll be a free and fair election, or is there any worry for the 4-11 voter?
There is a lot of concern still, I think, about free and fair election. Namely on two grounds. Number one, what's on the day turnout like? Because the early voting turnout has broken records. I think we've had more people voting early than every election through 1964. That's remarkable. Understandable in part because of the pandemic. The issue here is basically the processing of those votes and what happens at the individual state level with them. And also, next week, how many people turn out and vote in lines when cases for COVID are skyrocketing through the roof? You know, I don't have a great deal of confidence in this being a free and fair election, but that's different to the sort of subject of who is declared the winner and will the bookie pay out. Because you'll still get a call, right? You'll still get a call from the AP. It might be later, but at some point somebody will be announced the winner. So I would have thought the 4-11 in that regard is safe. That seems to be more like a different political issue for, you know, down the line or whatever, depending on how close the result is. But 4-11 is 73 2.5%, give or take. I'm rounding up. The lowest model forecast I've seen, I think, comes from 538 still, who give Biden an 87% chance. You know, it's, if you're really just believing the data, there's massive value still. And we're offering it at both ends with top price on Trump, but we're still, I think, offering a price on Biden that would be seen as generous in any forecaster's eyes.
And Star Sports have other markets as well. The Trump popular vote share, he's 5-4, 40 to 44.99%. And if you were to be very kind of taking the view that he's going to absolutely crash here, under 39.99%, 16-1, 7-4, 45 to 50 in effect, and 8-1, 50 to 54.99.
To be honest with you, I think the lines there are, I think they're about right.
Okay.
You know, I don't really think we're too out of shape on those. I think there's an edge that Biden has on one set of the lines we've got, but I don't necessarily think it's in that area. But more on that later.
Well, put it to you this way, right? I've seen some of the interviews with, you know, some of the voters this week, and it makes me despair for democracy, actually, because if you have so many stupid people among the electorate, basically, is democracy even a good thing? And I actually mean that. Some of the things I've heard in favor of Trump are off the scale. Is there any chance he gets less than 40%?
I was talking, actually, and you'll probably see this interview today, but I've been talking to Mike Smithson, who is the founder and editor of politicalbetting.com. He reckons if there's giant turnout, which takes in the massive amounts of early voting and strong voting on the day, Trump could have his base vote for him, and that could still come in less than 40. It's probably not the worst 16-1 shot in the world. You know, there are simulations, there are plenty of situations in which it can happen. I would think 16-1 is a teensy bit of value, but I don't think it's a gift horse in the mouth. You know, I wouldn't be thinking he's picking money off the street. But could Trump go below 40? Yeah, sure he can. We've got a range, basically, usually for these predictions, etc. He's around 42, 43% in terms of predicted vote share. Can he underperform by 3 points? Absolutely. But that's the normal polling error we had in 2016, which people still keep on going about. So, yeah, I think so, although I think Trump will end up coming in about 41 or so.
Yeah. Okay, final question for you. Is this like Christmas time for you? Are you just all excited? What are you going to do on election night?
Oh, very excited. There are plans being made for election night, followed...
Social distancing and all that?
Social distancing, but you can have a lot of fun virtually.
You can.
Speaking of plans, we've got interviews coming out all this week with some really big names in terms of political betting. You can actually, I'm pretty sure by the time this is out, you'll be able to watch Emily Hewitson and Mike Smithson, as I drop there. Emma Burnell and Neil Channing will be recorded later this week. We also hope to have one more special guest in the pipeline. So very much excited for that. As for election night, you will be able to find me on the Star Sports Twitter feed at some point, I am sure. Hope to be doing in-play updates. Also this week, a mega blog on the election, as our owner, Ben Keefe, would like to call it, will be out. It will be trying basically to explain each individual part of how this works before going on to a verdict. So lots of election stuff coming down the pipeline. As for the night, you'll be able to find me on a stream or two. I'm absolutely sure of it.
I'm excited just listening to that. Thank you very much, William Kedjanyi.
Thank you very much. Have a safe election, everybody.
And that was our last polling station before they go to the polls in the States. Come on, Joe. Let's save America and maybe save the world. See you next week.
See you next week. Thank you for watching.